Well, welcome back to part 4 of this logo series. So I've just had a quick mess around with the logo colors since part 3, just to make sure it was going in the right direction. So you might want to start tuning up your colors as well. Have a look online for some color guides if you're a bit stuck for colors, but it's really just a matter of messing around, finding some good contrasting colors and things that kind of work with the tone of your image. So that's starting to come together. But what I wanted to show you next is adding a little bit more detail as far as the type goes in the logo. So what I've done here is I've taken the type and I've created outlines with it. So I've gone create outlines, which is now done. And if you remember the other day, what I did, or in the other earlier video, is I set my increments on my keyboard so that I can move things out of my logo quite easily. So I've got that set under Preferences General, and if you have a look here, it's got a keyboard increment of 100 mils. So 100 mils is good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to add a little bit of detail to this text, just like the text above, and I'll do it kind of the old school way. So you see this in a lot of older stickers and things that it helped when with screen printing to kind of have the text floating to make it, you know, easy to to print. So let's have a look at the kind of techniques. So I'm going to be using a fair bit of like copying and pasting and pushing things away. So okay, so I've got this all grouped up and the text is now set as curves. So I'm going to come down to Object Path, and there's a good one here, Offset Path. We don't need outline stroke at the moment, and we'll turn on preview when we're having a look at this, and I think that's set pretty much the same as it was above at 1 mil, and you don't need to touch the miter limit unless you see any really particular pointy kind of things hanging off your text. So that should be fine as is. So we'll go OK, and now what it's done is it's actually grouped those two together. So what I'll do is I'll just ungroup those. So Command Shift G, and now I don't know why Illustrator does that, but it kind of like breaks apart the original grouping as well. So you got to pick out the middle of these letters and push them across. And I'll just zoom out so you can see I'll push those across, and then I'll grab the original letters in here as well, and I push those across. Okay, so they are now all nicely grouped up. Let's just come across here a little bit. There we go. So what I'll do now, go around, Command G, and they're grouped up. So what I can then do is I can take these ones, and I'll select these, just like that, just holding down Shift as I click on each one. That's more like it. Group those together and just check that they're moving around nicely. Okay, so that'll form our white background. So I'll just grab that, push it up to white. Nice one. Oops, that was not good. Cancel. Let me just do it this way. So I had a gradient on that already, it messed it up a bit. Okay, so that's cool. And then if I bring this back, we can see that that's now sitting on a white. I've got a couple of features on the text above here. We can see it's got, if I zoom in, it's got a black outline on the text. Yep, just around here. And it's also got a black drop shadow as well, a pretty chunky one. So let's have a look at pulling that together. So we don't really want this text here. I'll just pop that out of the way for the moment. What I can do is I can copy that, and then I can Shift Command V, paste in a new copy of that, and I'm going to give it an outline stroke. I'll give it a black one, and I'll start just pushing it up just a little bit. Now the stroke, in this case, I won't bother with it too much. I'll just let it go inside and outside. So usually just got to give it a touch more than you want, because it'll disappear behind the white as well. So what we'll do is we'll bring that to the front. Okay, so it'll come over the front of that. So when we push this in, we can see now that we've got a black key line, and we'll push this back and we'll bring that to the front as well. So Command Shift square brackets, which is the close brackets command. And we can now see that we've got stacked up, we've got 3 layers of type. We've got one that's got a black key line, one that's all white, and then we've got our blue original text on the top. Okay, so that's pretty good. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to, just for a second, pop that one out of the way, pop that one out of the way, get down to our base layer, and I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it into the same location, and I'm going to make the fill a black. Yeah, so just like that. And then I'm going to move it just a touch, just like that, to give us our drop shadow. And then I'm just going to use Command, and I'll just take it back one layer at a time. There we go. So it's just gone back. So it's given us our drop shadow. And then we'll push this back into the equation. That's good. And then we'll push this one. It actually probably looks better with that thicker key line. It's hard. It's a bit of a hard call there. I'll leave that for actually what I might do. While I'm looking at that, I'm just going to grab this one underneath here. Oops. And that key line there. I might bump that up to 3. And then I'll just bump this back in here. So we got a little bit, thicker key line showing from underneath that white. And that's not too bad. Let's have a look. Maybe that black could just come out a touch more. Yeah, something like that. Okay, I'm used to just going in, grabbing bits out. You can do this in a layer stack as well if you wanted. If you're a bit of a control freak and you like to work that way. I just find most of the time that slows me down too much working in layers, but it's up to you. Okay, so our logo is starting to come together. At the moment, the car's looking a little bit sort of too, I think maybe too black, and it needs a bit of a color on that, or some kind of gradient or something to accent that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the car. I had it originally grouped, but it's now ungrouped, and I'm just going to start to pull it apart a little bit using that same sort of command. And we can see that there's a few bits. Whoop, I'll just get rid of that out of our scene for a sec. So I previously had built a bit of a patch on the boot there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and the car, bring up the Pathfinder command. Here's my Pathfinder. It's hidden away over here. I'm just going to weld those together. Good one. Object. And I'll expand that. So they're all stuck together. Good one. But look what's happened when we've moved our car. We've left a few black bits behind over here. So let's just go and check that out. And what we'll do is we'll select these extra black bits. Move them across there. I think there's just a little bit, whoops, up on the roof there as well. Let's have a look. We'll zoom in a bit more there. Yeah, there is, I don't know if they matter too much, those ones. I'm tempted just to get rid of those, but let's bring them across anyway. So I'll just select those, take them across. Okay, so I've got all the, this is just purely made up of black components now. What I'll do is I'll draw around all of these and I'll go Object, Compound Path, Make. Okay, And what that means now is that I just click, all those black parts are all joined into the one thing. So if I add, I don't want to add a stroke to it, but if I change the fill color of this now, it will change the fill color of all the components. Otherwise, before, what would have happened if I didn't make them a compound path is that I would have had to select them individually, and it would have been a bit of a shambles. Actually, what have I done there? I've forgotten that little center point of the logo on the car as well. Okay, so in that case, what I can do is I can go Object, Compound Path, Release. I don't really like the way it's done that. We might just live with that for the moment. I don't want to mess that up too much more. So let's, just for the sake of this video, let's just pop that in over there, and that should be good. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, now that we've got our car with a color on it, we can basically start to bring up some other ones. So what have I got here? I've got brights. Nothing super exciting. Let's have a look here. So we might need a different gradient. So let's go in and get one. Color properties, and go into gradients. Gems, metals, neutrals, pastels, seasons. Let's have a look at metals. I was thinking maybe something dark might be cool. Black with just a hint of like something in it. Okay, what do we're trying to get something close-ish that's not too complicated to edit. That's not too bad. Okay, so let's flip that 90 degrees. So it's running through our vehicle, and then let's have a look here. So we can change these colors. We'll just click on them. Let's make that a black up top there, and let's take this and make this a black down below. We've sort of got a grey in the middle there, and we might make that a black, but then we'll just sort of like ease it off just a touch. We won't do it that way. We'll go with one of these. I just want to just have a little bit extra, something like that. That's pretty good. Okay, and that just gives me just something a little bit nicer than the pure sort of solid black in our logo. And I think that we're pretty much there, I think. So really all that remains, once we've got something like this that's all tidied up, I usually just will group the thing together, and it should be pretty much ready to go for proof. Now, if we're printing that onto white, it's all cool. If we're printing it onto a color, then we might need to create a white background for it to cut out of the transfer on. And if that was the case, we can use this key line here, this outside one, to cut with. So I hope you've enjoyed this basic introduction to Illustrator. I've tried to keep it nice and simple, and something that you might take away and be able to use in your own projects. So I know there's lots of really step-by-step videos out there that take you through how to open documents, save documents, all the basics of the software. Go and have a look at those if you want to know about this stuff. I'm just assuming that you know all that stuff by now. So with my videos, I just try and get through to the how do you use these sort of things on daily projects. So thank you very much for your time, and good luck with your project, and I'll talk to you soon.